I request our beloved G. Karunanidhi Ayya to deliver his address.
Okay. Thank you, friends. Mr. Dr. Hariharan and his team for organizing this Zoom meeting. And my dear friends who have joined this meeting, it is really wonderful that they have selected the very important and current topic that is being going rounds. That is the need to conduct a caste census. The Union government's decision to include a caste enumeration in the upcoming census is a welcome decision. First, from our federation also, we welcome that. Actually, the census enumeration that was conducted post-independence from 1951, every 10 years, without any break, was not conducted in 2021 due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. This was announced by the Home Minister also in the Parliament. It has to be noted at this point that a similar census exercise was carried out in the United States of America in 2020 itself, despite the fact that the USA was the major sufferer of the COVID-19. It will be further interesting to note that the race column appears in all the census enumerations in the USA, so as to know the socio-economic development of all the races, including blacks, Hispanics, and other people. But in India, there is a false belief which the officials of the census department also ventilate, that including a caste data in census enumeration will perpetuate the caste system and deepen social divisions. In fact, not including the caste data would perpetuate the injustice of the caste system, because the lack of data will render inefficient policy measures meant to help the weak people. In a society where caste is at the root of discrimination and inequality in healthcare, education, and even access to justice, it is very, very important to monitor how it affects people in order to devise ways to address its impact. In that way, excluding the caste-wise data will not erase caste system, but including it has the potential to bring a beginning of the end of the caste. So the entire exercise of caste-wise census must be undertaken only by the census department of the Union government, because the census comes under the Union list, entry 69 under the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution. Inquiries, surveys, and statistics for the purpose of any of the matters of the Union list are also the responsibility of the government of India as per entry 94 of the Union list. So for the purpose of any of the matters in the Union list, it is the exclusive responsibility of the government of India, like elections to parliament and state legislatures. The matter need not be entrusted to the state governments. Is it audible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Further sections 5(1) of the Census Act 1948 lays down the functions of the Census Commissioner who shall compile and publish the census statistics, and hence it is the statutory duty of the Census Commissioner and the central government to ensure that the caste census data collected is compiled, tabulated, and published by them. While passing the 127th Constitutional Amendment Bill, restoring the powers of the state to identify the backward classes, almost all the political parties have demanded caste census. The NDA government, ruling the government now, its alliance partners, Janata Dal United, Apna Dal, Republican Party of India of Atavale, were also demanding the caste census. Few of the BJP MPs also raised this matter. At this point, it has to be remembered by all of us that caste data had been successfully collected, processed, and disseminated by the Census of India in all the past censuses of 1871, 1881, 1891, 1901, 1911, 1921, and 1931. Even in 1941 also, the exercise was done, but not tabulated for want of funds due to the then ongoing World War II. At none of these censuses, the then commissioners of our officials put forth this argument that this data compiled will make a divisive on the society. In fact, they conducted the exercise seriously, as it was one of the important characteristics of the Indian society, and any census of the population of India without its caste profile would be incomplete. But even after 94 years from the last census, caste census of 1931, in the absence of the current caste data, the governments and the data users again and again have to go back to 1931 census report for the caste data. So in the absence of the reliable data with the governments at present, the legality of the legislations passed by the government, both at the center and states, on the reservation policies for the backward classes, scheduled castes, tribes, are repeatedly questioned by the honorable courts. This has become more relevant now when petitions are made for identifying the creamy layer among all the reserved categories, including the SC/ST, and to remove them from the purview of the reservation. Subcategorization within the reserved groups and reservation for the economically weaker sections among the upper caste are also the matters to be taken into account. The Constitution amendment was done in 1992 of 73rd Amendment, 74th Amendment. Both the amendments said that Article 243 D6 and Article 243 T6, T for table, are constitutionally valid since they are in the nature of the provisions which merely enable state legislatures to reserve seats and chairperson posts in favor of the backward classes. You have to remember that there is a political reservation for the backward classes, not for in the parliament or in the legislature, but in the local bodies. There is a reservation provision for the backward classes under Article 243 D6 and Article 243 D6. So 243 D6 says, nothing in this part shall prevent the legislature of a state from making any provision for reservation of seats in any panchayat or offices of the chairperson in the panchayats at any level in favor of the backward classes of citizens. 243 T6 says, nothing in this part shall prevent the legislature of a state from making any provision for reservation of seats in any municipality or offices of the chairpersons in the municipalities in favor of the backward classes of citizens. So based on that, a petition was filed in the court. The Supreme Court, after hearing the petition, gave a judgment that we are not in a position to examine the claims about overbreadth in the quantum of reservation provided for OBCs under the impugned state legislations, since there is no contemporaneous empirical data. That is very important. The court rejected the petition on the ground that there is no data about the backward classes. This is the judgment 5 judges bench of Supreme Court of India given on 11th May 2010. Even then, the governments were not ready to enumerate the caste census. But after this judgment, there were continuous demand both inside the parliament and outside the parliament, like our federation and other social organizations, that a caste enumeration should be done along with census 2011 that was due after 2010. I will come to that aspect later. So all these arguments can be well answered only through a valid database that can be done only through the enumeration of a caste-based census. The United States Census Bureau, in its 2020 census questionnaire, requires its citizens to spell out their origin, Hispanic, Latin, or Spanish, and also race, Black, African American, American Indian, or Alaska Native, etc., under questions 6 and 7 of the questionnaire. In the earlier census also, USA adopted this method so as to affect the affirmative action for these social groups. Just I would like to share a slide on this for the information of our people so that you can see how in America it is being done. Whereas here in India, up to this date, we are not in a position to have a caste census of all the communities. So this is the questionnaire prepared by the United States of America for 2020 census. Every census they are doing like this. And you can see from this columns, African American and Alaska Native like that. This is race, Black or African like that. They are what is the person's name? They are asking. Like this, they are asking the race also in question number 9. This is the format they have devised. Just I am showing the portion. You can go through that. You can browse it in the internet also. So this is the way America is doing an exercise every 10 years without any interruption. And they are taking the race for identifying the population figures as well as the socio-economic conditions of various races. Here, the Union government appointed a commission headed by Justice Rohini in 2017 for subcategorization of the backward classes. We from our federation also went there and we gave our representations. We said that without any caste data, your subcategorization exercise will be futile. This is what we gave to summarize that. And what happened was the commission that has been entrusted with the important task of subcategorization of OBC, in the absence of a caste-based data, has been pushed to request for an all India survey. At least to give a all India survey so that we can do this exercise properly. But that was also not given. So finally they have given the report which the government has not published so far. Next point is the need to have a caste count is very much necessary. Why? Because the National Commission for Backward Classes, there is a National Commission constituted after the Supreme Court judgment of Indira Sahni case 1992. So in every 10 years, you have to revise the list of the backward classes. How they can revise the list without knowing having a data? So for that purpose also the data is very much required. So the caste data so collected can easily be captured, tabulated and published in a timely bound program along with all other socio-economic data like literacy, education, occupation, work characteristics and other demographic indices collected through the census. This will be the ideal and will serve the purpose without any additional expenditure for the government. But now let me come to some critical aspects which the people who are opposing this, they often say that it will be a lame excuse. They say that multiplicity of caste and subcaste names would make a scientific collection of data impossible when the government is, because why I am telling is, some say that there will be multiplicity of caste and subcaste. So enumerating this caste exercise will not be scientific. But that is not a correct argument because now we are having technologically developed, we have got every technology to tabulate this data perfectly. So that argument is not valid. And also the census department itself said that the integrity of the census data will be compromised. The population count will be distorted. These are all unsubstantiated arguments because the same census department is collecting data about the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, who comprises totally about nearly 1,600 subcastes among themselves. The census department collects data about religion also. When the integrity of the census data is not compromised, when they collect the data of SC/ST and religion wise, while coming for other communities only, the census department is giving this kind of excuses, which is not at all correct. I would like to make a reference about Mr. Vijay Urni, who was a former census commissioner. He was there up to 1999. He was a census commissioner. He has done a lot of census exercise also. He was in favor of caste census. He was continuously arguing during 2010-11. He was very much with us also. We had so many interactions with him also. He has made one very important comments. He says that there are two sets of people in this country who will oppose the collection of caste data. One, some who belong to the well-to-do communities. They fear that the small strings of their caste and the disproportionate share of the national cake that they enjoy will stand exposed And hence they do not want that this caste-wise composition of the population should come out. The other category is a handful of academic and intellectuals who flaunt their holier than thou attitude of being anti-caste on their sleeves and wrongly equate caste data collection with the perpetuation of the caste system. It is these people who jump in just before every census to try and block caste-based data collection and deprive the country of a vital database. They are doing the biggest disservice to the people of India by depriving the country of a valuable database forever. This is the comment he has given on this two very important criticals. In this, I would like to give another slide, which will be very useful for you, which you can understand that how this data which they are doing now. I have shown this data. This is the figure taken at the time of 1871. 1871 census says the population of various segments of our society. Brahmins, 6.79%. Other castes, that is mostly backward classes, 70%. So this is the very important thing. After 1931, this was stopped. This 1871 census went like this: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Rajputs, like that. Thereafter, this lobby went and persuaded the Britishers. After that, they were all categorized as Hindus. And the overall, this kind of segment-wise data was not taken by them. So now the fear is that these data will expose their percentage and how much share they have taken in the various governance of this country. And the population of the backward classes, almost nearly 70%, who have been given only 27% now. And with a share of governance of this country only up to the level of 5%, then there will be a greater demand from these groups for their adequate share in the governance of the country. So this is why the opposition to the caste census comes from these dominant groups who have been already enjoying the cake for more than centuries, and they don't want that now to be discontinued. So this is the tabulation which we have brought out for you for the understanding of the subject. So another argument is that the collection will be against the law. To collect caste census data will be against the law. That is also one argument, which is not a correct argument, because the census department has been collecting the data even on practices which are patently illegal, like child marriage, child labor. So these are all certain arguments which is not worthy of giving a reply also, because these are all only for the namesake they are giving this argument, which is not correct. And now let me come to next level, how to go forward, because now the government has taken a decision. So collecting correct and authentic data is the first step towards dealing with the issue. And conversely, refusing to collect data is equal to sweeping the issue under the carpet forever and living in a world of blissful ignorance. We have to remember that it is only because of the Britishers, despite the enormity of the challenges involved in the task of caste data collection and processing, take the pains to collect and present the caste data, that we have a vivid picture of our society as it then existed, and are able to still cite the 1931 census on caste-wise population, even though it is all outdated today. So the objective, how we have to go forward is this objective of enumerating the caste census can easily be achieved without any extra effort or expense if a caste column is included in the census schedule while doing the house-to-house enumeration. For each individual in the household schedule, there will be a column for religion, followed by a column for SC/ST. Now we can replace that. After the column of religion, we can substitute the next column as caste and subcaste can be created. So that will serve the purpose. That is what we feel. And in this also, I would like to show another slide which will be useful for you. You can see how the formats have been done and how the government is conducting this exercise in the past. This is in 2011. Okay. So now in 2011, they have made 8th column, scheduled caste types like that, religion. So this is how now the column can be substituted either with this caste or subcaste, or you can create another. If it is not comfortable, you can create next column as caste and subcaste, and you can collect the caste and subcaste. And our suggestion is that when the enumerators, they are going for house to house enumeration, they should be given the list of all the communities of the state in hand so that they can counter check immediately and they can note down the correct names also, so that any inaccuracies can be avoided to the minimum. Now the question is, the government has taken a decision to conduct this exercise. So our question is, when the exercise of census, including the caste enumeration, will begin? That is a major question today. And when it will be completed? And how the questionnaire will be prepared? Because last time what happened was, because we have a very bitter experience, in 2010, we lobbied for this caste census and we worked on this matter. But what happened was, finally the government, even though gave the assurance to the parliament in 2010 by then Finance Minister Pranab Mukherjee that caste enumeration will be done, but finally ended as a socio-economic caste census. And that report given in 2015, the data we are not knowing even today also. So that kind of thing should not happen now. So the exercise, the questionnaire should be properly designed, and the exercise should start in the month of February, because that is the ideal month. The other, generally all the exercise will be conducted only from then onwards, so that the teachers and other people can be involved in this exercise. And recently, 2 governments have done their exercise, Bihar and Telangana. In Telangana, the questionnaire was having 57 questions and 18 sub-questions and collected on paper questionnaire. And these are all certain samples which the government can take use of that. So the census RGI, that is Registrar General of India and Census Commission of India, should formulate a household schedule questionnaire for netting all the required data, mobilize the official census machinery nationwide, appoint and train the enumeration personnel, print and distribute the forms and instruction manuals, and complete the data collection exercise. Scanning, processing, tabulation of the caste data can be undertaken by the Census Commissioner on the same lines as the census data. So, this is what we can say about this caste census. So, before concluding, let me say that I want to repeat that the Union government's decision to include this caste enumeration is a welcome decision, but we had a very bitter experience in the past. The previous government, that is the UPA government too, after intense debates in the parliament, in the Lok Sabha, it was in May 2010, all the leaders, even the constituents of the UPA, like Sharad Yadav, Mulayam Singh Yadav, Laluji, and other parties like DMK, all these people, they were arguing in favor of the caste census, and finally the government agreed to include caste enumeration in census 2011. In August 2010, on behalf of the government of India, Pranab Mukherjee, then finance minister, gave the assurance and gave a statement in the parliament. But what finally transpired was a socio-economic caste census. That report, we don't know what it is. And the government gave a very contradicting statement. Initially, the registrar said that it is a error-free, 98.1% is error-free. But subsequently, the government went to the Supreme Court. I have filed a petition in the Supreme Court for a caste census along with other petitioners. The government gave a verdict, affidavit in 2021 that they cannot conduct a caste census. And the Prime Minister himself said in last year that whoever is demanding caste census, they are urban naxals. And in the parliament, the Minister of Home of State Affairs, Minister of State for Home Affairs, he said that the government has decided as a matter of policy not to enumerate caste-wise population other than SC/ST. Like that, there was a different view. However, now the government, the cabinet has taken a decision, and we have to be very much alert till the exercise is not only started but completed in the way in which we all expect. Like the questionnaire should be proper. It should collect all the castes and subcastes. It can be easily tabulated and processed, and we have all the technology. So it can be done without any errors. Minimum errors will be there. Always it will be there, but it can be done. Because for SC/ST, already the government is tabulating nearly 1,600 and odd castes. The remaining will be some 4,000 castes will be in backward classes, means it is not very difficult for the government, and all the persons in India will be knowing their caste and subcaste. So there will not be any confusion on that also. But before that, the enumerator should have the list of the government, of state list, and also the central list. If anything, it should be both should be made a single list, so that the enumerators will be knowing the caste and subcaste, and they can easily interact with the household persons to have a perfect enumeration of the caste. This is what we can say. Till then, we have to continue to exert pressure on the government to conduct this exercise without any going back on that assurances. This is what I can share with you today, and I have to thank the organizers for giving this opportunity. And now it is for the participants to ask anything or to share any views on this. Thank you.